Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to Decktober Day 7. Today we're looking at a $45 budget Alela Artful Provocateur deck tech. Alela is a flying death touch lifelink that gives other creatures you control with flying +1/+0, and whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. So this deck is about playing millions of artifacts and enchantments, playing all those ways to beef up the flyers and possibly beefing up Alela at the same time, and then swinging in with your big flying army for the win. Now let's get straight into the budget deck tech. As always, we're starting off the budget brew with all of the ramp. First here we have Commander Sphere and Mindstone that we can tap for some mana or sacrifice to give us some tasty card draw. For some rampy creatures we have Leaden Mere to tap for a swamp and Palladium Mere to tap for 2 colourless. We have Silver Mere to tap for an island and Ornithopter of Paradise to tap for 1 mana of any colour. Having these artifact creatures are so essential because playing them will trigger Alela to then create that beloved 1/1 blue fairy creature token. We have Heraldic Banner to add a mana of the colour of your choice when it ETBs, also giving creatures of that chosen colour +1/+0, and the Birth of Meletis to fetch you out a basic plains and put it into your hand. Again, with these both being an artifact and enchantment, this will trigger off Alela, so it's double win. We've got Arcane Signet to add any of the Esper colour, and finally, we have Sol Ring, because Sol Ring. Before we get onto all the artifact and enchantment loving cards, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for all things MTG. It's completely free to do so, it helps the channel grow and grow as we head towards 2,000 subscribers. Now we're looking at all of those artifact and enchantment lovers. First off with Arcanist's Owl, when ETBs you look at the top 4 cards of your library and you may put an artifact or enchantment into your hands. An Archon of Sun's Grace that will create you a 2/2 Flying Pegasus whenever an enchantment hits your side of the field. There is Ethereum Sculptor and Boundary Inspector to both make artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. We also have Starnheim Courser, a Flying Pegasus that makes artifact and enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and Sun Titan that when it ETBs or attacks, you return a card with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. That's some potentially huge enchantment recursion. For more recursion we have Dance of the Manse to return X target artifacts and or non-aura enchantments to the field, and if X is 6 or more, they also become 4/4 flying creatures. And Open the Vaults to return all artifact and enchantments from all graveyards to the battlefield under their owner's control. Finally, there is Mesa Enchantress that says whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you may draw a card. Now we're looking at the millions of artifacts and enchantments in this deck, starting with all that glitters to enchant target creature and give it +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment you control, and we have Cranial Plating that gives equipped creature +1/+0 for each artifact you control. We've added in Mace of the Valiant that says whenever a creature ETBs on your side of the field, put a charge counter on it, and equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Mace of the Valiant. And there's Nettlecyst, a living weapon that says equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. We have Etchings of the Chosen that ETBs and you choose a creature type, and creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1, which you can also pay to sack a creature of that chosen type and give another creature you control indestructible until end of turn. And Favourable Winds to give creatures you control with flying +1/+1. For some more creature boosting we have Gravitational Shift to give creatures with flying +2/+0 and creatures without flying -2/-0, and Intangible Virtue to give all of your creature tokens you control +1/+1 and Vigilance. We've added in Rally the Ranks that ETBs and you choose a creature type, with those creature types getting +1/+1, and Mirror Maid that may enter the battlefield as a copy of any target artifact or enchantment you control. And some of the options here can be disgusting. We have Elixir of Immortality to gain 5 life and shuffle your graveyard into your library, and Perpetual Timepiece to exile and shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard to your library. There's Bident of Thassa that says whenever a creature you control deals damage to a player, you may draw a card, and for more card draw there's Witching Well to ETB and scry 2, and you may pay to sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. We've added in Military Intelligence that says whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card, and Omen of the Sea to ETB, scry 2 and draw a card. There is Reconnaissance Mission that says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, and Teferi's Ageless Insight that says if you would draw a card, except the first card you draw on your draw step, draw 2 cards instead. For some removal we have Banishing Light that when ETBs, you exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until Banishing Light leaves the field, and Glass Casket that when ETBs, you exile target creature and opponent controls until Glass Casket leaves the battlefield. There is Elspeth Conquers Death to exile target permanent with mana value 3 or greater, and Thopter Arrest the ETBs and exiles target artifact or creature an opponent controls until Thopter Arrest leaves the field. We've added in a Swiftfoot Boots to give Alela some protection, and Thopter Spy Network to make us a 1/1 spy army on our upkeep, and whenever an artifact creature deals combat damage to a player, draws us a card. On some cards that will make our opponents rage, with Darksteel Mutation to enchant creature to make target creature a 0/1 insect indestructible artifact creature that loses all abilities and creature types. Perfect if you want to annoy your opponent and pop it straight onto their commander. And we have Frogify to make enchanted creature a 1/1 frog that loses all of its abilities. There is Ichthyomorphosis to enchant a creature and turn it into a 0/1 fish that again loses all of its abilities, and Kasmina's Transmutation to enchant target creature, making it a 1/1 with no abilities. For some more opposition frustrating cards, we have Ghostly Prison that says creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each attacking creature, and Larceny that says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card from their hand. Again, any of the cards mentioned in the last few minutes are so strong because they are not only benefiting your board state, but they're also triggering Alela whenever one of these artifacts or enchantments are cast. For the final 2 cards, we have Lawmage's Binding to enchant creature and make it unable to attack, block or activate its abilities, and Propaganda that says creatures can't attack you unless they pay 2 for each attacking creature. How devilishly disgusting. Before we finish up with the lands, we're looking at the best of the rest in this budget deck, and we're starting up first with Saphara, Sky's Blade. This huge 7/7 angel has flying lifelink and says other creatures you control with flying have indestructible. This card is so key in this deck as the majority of our army will be in the air flyers, so why not make them all indestructible and keep swinging out at your opponents? Now linking nicely from Saphara, we have Archetype of Imagination that gives all of our creatures flying and makes all of our opponents' creatures lose flying. The potential combo there is an easy route to victory. And we have Empyrean Angel to give all other flying creatures we control +1/+1. On some card draw, we have Mentor of the Meek. This is whenever another creature ETBs under our control with power 2 or less, we may pay 1 and draw a card, and Winged Words to draw 2 cards, costing 1 less if we control a creature with flying. There is Village Rites to sack a creature and draw 2 cards, and we have Rootborn Defences to give all of your creatures indestructible until end of turn, and populate one of your token creatures. For a load of counterspells, we have added, of course, Counterspell, as well as Dovin's Veto for an uncounterable non-creature counterspell. We have Lofty Denial that says counter target spell unless your opponent pays 1, but they do have to pay 4 to counter instead if you control a creature with flying. And there is Negate to counter target non-creature spell. Finally, we have Mortify to destroy target creature or enchantment, and Kabira Takedown that deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker. Onto the lands now, and as always we are starting off with the basics, with this deck having 11 lands, 11 plains and 8 swamp. We also have Command Tower to add 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity, and Exotic Orchard to add 1 mana of any colour that a land an opponent controls could produce. We've got the always trusty Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse to sack and get a basic land onto the field tapped. And finally we have Reliquary Tower. With various triggers that we can have throughout the cards that are in this deck, we'll hopefully be drawing so many cards that we don't want to be having to go to discard at the end of our turn. Alela Artful Provocateur is such a great commander option that it's easy to understand why it's one of the most popular commanders of the last few years. One of my friends runs Alela as his commander, so maybe it's my turn to make this deck and have a big battle of the flying fairies. Make sure to check into Decktober Day 8 tomorrow, where we'll be looking at another commander option from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. There we have it, that is the $45 budget Alela deck tech. Thanks for watching, and make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for all things MTG. Check out our link tree in the description below for all of our social media and affiliate links, but for now I am all tapped out, so I'll see you in the next video.